Hello, this is Doug Rogers with the Counterweight podcast. I am joined by Russell Stover. Excited to see you, Russell. And we are embarking on the Thanksgiving holiday here coming up. And I'm sure you and I both have many things that we're thankful for. We're blessed, but we had been talking separately. There is a lot to be thankful for in the digital health space this year. And we just thought it'd be cool to riff for a moment. What are we thankful for that's been happening in healthcare, more specifically in healthcare technology and digital health? So, Russell, let's kick it off. What are you thankful for in digital health this year?
Yeah, well, thank you, Doug. I mean, obviously, what more could anybody talk about than what they're thankful for in digital health? I'll start off. The first thing that comes to mind is I'm thoughtful for the democratization of information that's been kind of made abundantly possible by, these different chatbots and artificial intelligence tools like Open Evidence, Chat GPT, Claude, all of them that exist. I think what is really interesting to me is, for a long time, this country and this world has kind of been impacted by a lot of information with dubious outcomes that kind of got fed to us through search engine optimization and social media algorithms. And for the first time, people can actually access more effective information. And open evidence isn't available to be used right now by patients. I had
Which
a
is
LinkedIn.
unfortunate.
It's a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, that's their business model. I don't want to hold them to too high of a standard, although I did start a petition to them to open it up. There are some
We'll
startups in this
sign that.
space.
I will
Yeah,
sign
we'll
your
go for it.
petition.
Hey,
Yeah.
anybody that listens to this podcast, please sign this petition. I'm sure it will have very little impact, but you never know. And I think that there are some startups, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk about some of those at a later date that are trying to bring evidence to the patients in a way that hasn't been possible before. So I'm really positive and thankful about those tools that have come up.
I think that's a really good shout out. And to your point, I feel like more than ever, we are empowering true consumerism in healthcare. And partly, certainly the idea of empowering the consumer and the consumer taking a bigger role in healthcare has been a topic ever since you and I came into the space. And I won't say how long we've been in this space, but we've seen a lot collectively. But there has always been this asymmetry of information, and those walls are breaking down by a rapid pace. And I think that there's a lot to be excited about. In that same vein, Russell, you and I are not part of companies that sell ambient scribes. We're probably missing out. But I will say, I'm incredibly thankful for the impact, the overnight success, 5 years, 10 years in the making, that ambient scribes like a Bridge or Dax or Suki or any of the other ones out there are having on the industry. And Russell, probably more so than ever, it's because it is helping make technology fun again for doctors, for nurses. I've never seen anything like it, where people are genuinely viscerally excited to use a piece of technology. And then that bleeds over into they're much more optimistic about everything else than I've ever seen throughout my entire career.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Like, I remember sitting in conversations with clients 5 years ago, and this idea was available, and you would show it and it was like a parlor trick. And I don't think anyone believed that it was actually going to be something that was ever achievable, that you could just sit in a room and have a conversation with the patient and suddenly your note would appear. It feels like it's happened overnight, that the adoption pickup and the momentum has been unbelievable. And, there's just so much information in that provider patient conversation that we haven't had access to ever before. And I'm really hopeful that this really is just the beginning of that transformation.
Yes, indeed. Now, I'll make a connection back to what you first talked about, being thankful for the democratization of information. I will say I continue to hope that we as consumers get more access to that. So it's great that the doctor's having joy. I think we would benefit from having that type of scribe as an extension when we go in and receive care. So what else are you thankful for, Russell?
Yeah. So I think the next one that I have on my list is direct primary care. So
Oh, that's a good one.
this isn't necessarily high tech, right? But I know this is something that you've been thinking about for far longer than me, but I'm I've never participated with the direct primary care clinic. I think that's going to probably change. I am
Heard it
so
here
thankful.
first.
Yeah, I know. I'm if there's a direct primary care physician in the Kansas City area that wants me as a patient, my family, feel free to reach out. But honestly, like what I'm thankful for is that these physicians have both the desire and the courage to step out of the traditional, not even just traditional, like basically the entire health system, the United States health system, and do something completely different. And to me, that bravery as is incredibly important. And it's obviously not just bravery; it was burnout as well. But I'm very hopeful that not only am I thankful for what they've done, but that patients have seen this value and realize how important it is to have a real connection with their primary care physician. And, we're going to have to see where that goes, but I'm so thankful that we've gotten this far.
Yeah, I love that shout out. As you said, I'm a huge proponent for the concept of direct primary care. I actually am enrolled in a direct primary care practice myself. So if I can ever convince you to move up to the Northland, I would highly recommend my practice. But I will say there are a number of really phenomenal DPC clinics fairly close to you. We'll talk offline. I'll give you some recommendations. But I think it's a great movement. And I'll just in that vein, I'll give a shout out to the Academy for Family Physicians, which is headquartered here in Kansas City, and certainly is a big proponent, as you would imagine, for primary care, but is also a big proponent for direct primary care and helping providers understand how they can move into that practice model, what it looks like, and how they can deliver care in the best way possible, separate from a large employed health system historically that may have been more so the model. I uh I am thankful for Russell. This probably seems odd to say, but the rise of agents in this AI space. And here's why I'm thankful for it. I think that it is a tremendous unlock to actually take just this phenomenal generative AI technology that has now come into our world, is impacting our world, but then encapsulate that into an entity that can do a job on behalf of you. And I'm thankful that this technology exists. I'm thankful for the innovation that's coming out because of being able to create these innovations. I recognize that there is both upside and downside to this. And a lot of this is really in our hands to make the best out of it, not make the worst out of it. But I'm just incredibly bullish, incredibly positive that done right, these agents are an incredible productivity enhancement, not just for you and I, but for healthcare in general, and really more so for how healthcare can be delivered more effectively in a level of abundance than what it is today in your typical health system environment that deals with staffing issues, OPEX issues, margin issues, et cetera, et cetera. I'm thankful for the investment there and potentially where this technology is going to take healthcare more broadly.
Yeah, you nail it. The capacity of the healthcare system in this country has been strained for a long time. It's only getting worse. And this has the potential to be the tool that really changes that paradigm in a positive way. Now it can do a lot. We got to do the right things with it.
Hmm.
And we can't, you know, done wrong, it can have some negative effects, but done right, it has a great potential to provide care that's not being provided right now and really extend the capacity of the care system that we have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What else comes to mind for you, Russell? What else are you thankful for in digital health?
So I'm thankful for Digital Health KC.
Yeah, yeah.
This is one that both of us have participated in. I started participating in it in early spring, and it's a collection of a lot of people from Kansas City, many of whom did have a Cerner background, but there's a lot of folks there that have absolutely no connection to Cerner outside of coming to those events and meeting people. And I can't tell you how, rewarding each one of those events have been for me, connecting with people. And, it is a great conversation starter to be able to walk into those rooms and, talk about your experiences and learn from others with a wide diversity of different positions and backgrounds in the healthcare community. So I can't express to those that are involved, Tanner and Liz and Dick, the work that they put in to build that organization. And I'm very hopeful for where it goes.
Well said. I would echo that sentiment. I am also incredibly grateful for digital health, KC, and to your point, not only is it having an impact on our community, what I've experienced is getting the ability to get connected to people that I probably never would have come across, and the different ideas they have, innovations that they're building, unique go-to-market functions or digital health functions that they're building, and that is happening here is inspiring and is also challenging, I think, to both you and I. What can we go do? What big idea, unique ideas do we have? And the fact that you can see other people doing it is great incentive that, hey, yeah, maybe you can do that too. So Russell, in that vein, and I'm going to give a shout out. There's a physician. We used to work with him, Dr. Holland Haney. He's a primary care physician now at an FQHC down in central Missouri. I am thankful for the investment that's going to be coming in 2026 to rural communities as part of the Rural Health Transformation Program out of CMS. So, most people in this space may know, but if you don't, CMS has been given as part of federal legislation that was signed earlier this year $50 billion over 10 years to deploy to every single state to drive innovation across a number of areas and how we deliver healthcare in rural communities. There's 60 million people across the US that live in a rural community. 80% of those individuals have very limited, if no access to healthcare, especially within the primary care space. Even worse when it comes to getting access to specialty care. There are obstacles around broadband. There's obstacles around access. There's certainly obstacles around the economic abilities, et cetera. And so this has a tremendous potential to just drive so much in such a fast speed of innovation for these communities. And I think it will not just benefit rural, but it will benefit urban because as we see innovation there, then invariably that will come back into urban communities and vice versa. So there are some downsides. It was at the sacrifice of funding within Medicaid writ large. I think anyone who looks at those two side by side will recognize this Rural Health Transformation Fund does not replace, it's really 30 cents on the dollar that's potentially going to be removed out of Medicaid programs. But that doesn't change the fact that this will have real positive and innovation impact on rural health communities, which need it. And I'm thankful that we're going to see what I believe will be significant positive change for the better in these communities.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that too. I've, in the past several weeks, developed much more of a connection to our rural health providers. Shout out to Jennifer McKinney, who's
Yeah.
a future podcast guest. Um, it's incredibly inspiring the work that these providers do and the lack of resources that they have and their grit and their determination to be scrappy and find ways to help the people in their communities, people that need a lot of help. And I'm hopeful that said that word quite a few times on this podcast already, but I'm thankful for what they do, and I'm thankful for at least that that the 30% is all we lost as part of that Medicaid change. This targeted, focused approach has the potential to pay some dividends.
Yeah, that's right. And hey, by the way, I think it is fantastic that you and we are using the word hope in abundance. We're thankful, but look, there are a lot of challenging things that are out there in the world today. And if we lose our optimism, if we lose our hope, then it is really hard to think that there's going to be a brighter day forward. And I think you and I both have a heavy dose of optimism in terms of where the future may take us. Any number, Russell, of things that we could be thankful for in digital health. There's just a whole suite of phenomenal companies both within the KC Metro and then across the country that are doing some really incredible things. The digital health space is alive and well, growing and impacting healthcare writ large and then individuals every single day. A lot of things that we could touch on. We don't have time for much more, but there are people that you and I both follow that we learn from, everyday thought leaders, people we've had conversations. I'd just be curious, any individuals you want to give a special shout out that we're thankful for the voice and impact they're having on this industry, if you will.
Yeah, so there's so many that we won't be able to list them all, right? I think the first one that comes to mind for me is Paulius Mui. He's impacted me personally. I feel so grateful for the opportunity to connect with him, but also with his community of just brilliant individuals that are doing a lot of great things. We talked a little bit about this. These are physicians, many of them,
Hmm.
and they're polymaths. So they're expressing themselves through medicine and technology. And I cannot express myself how much it means to me to be able to kind of observe that community. So thank you, Paulius.
Yeah, no, I love the shout out, and he has been a wonderful voice to your point around both primary care, the intersection of technology and primary care. Similar to you, I benefited from conversations with him and the community that he's building. I would give a shout out. I've not had the chance to meet this person. It feels weird. You feel like you get to know people when you read things that they write, even if you never meet them in person. But there is a physician in North Carolina at UNC, Spencer Dorn. He is a family practice doctor by background, and he writes exceptionally well around both the possibility of improvement and the balance and or what we should be concerned about of this intersection around how AI can impact not just care for people, but care especially within primary care. And he does probably one of the better jobs in describing what the art of the possible could be and telling real stories that he's experienced in the delivery of care and potentially how AI could make this better, but then also, hey, here's where we should be concerned, or here's a guardrail we should be thinking out. So shout out Spencer, keep up the good work. Maybe one day we'll actually meet you in person or have you on the pod, but really, really love all the things that you write about. Who else, Russell, would you give a shout out to?
So I'm gonna give a shout out to Hallie Techco,
Yeah.
one of the OG, maybe the OG of digital health. One of the original founders of Rock Health in San Francisco has done an
Mm.
enormous amount for this community. Started thinking about health tech and health startups before it was even remotely interesting for a lot of investors. Has stuck it out. Now the host of the Heart of Healthcare podcast, which I found several months ago, and has helped me reorient myself within this industry in a way that is really important. And I think it's one that a lot of folks should look at. So thank you, Hallie, for the work that you've done over the past decade and a half to build up a community that so many are invigorated by.
Russell, I think if we can do podcasting as well as she and her colleagues with Heart of Healthcare does, then I think we're gonna do something really fun and successful together. Yeah, she is certainly a remarkable person, built a unique space in this industry, had demonstrable impact, and her podcast, like you said, we both listen to it, has really good content on it. Two other doctors I just would give a shout out to. One, Ben Schwartz. He's an ortho by background. You may know him not just for his LinkedIn post, but he has a Substack called The Surgeon Record. Probably one of the best long form writers in this space that I've read in quite some time. Really, really both thinks and writes deeply on the intersection of value based care delivery and care operations writ large, and technology, or more specifically AI, has some very unique perspectives. One of the perspectives that certainly he has shared broadly is the role that specialists can play as a coordinator or almost medical home like entity for patients. In contrast, I don't think he's suggesting to replace primary care, but in contrast to primary care as an anchoring entity for patients. Certainly, he is in puts a pretty incredible argument forward around that thought process, and just someone I know I learn from every time I get the chance to read what he's posting, and he posts quite a bit. I don't know how he finds the time. And then lastly, someone in my own just kind of professional circle, Dr. David Carmouche. I've gotten the chance to spend time with him over the last 6 months, and just in the primary care. So Russell, we've mentioned a lot of doctors. I think Holly was the exception to that role. It stands to me that the other thing we're thankful for is almost a rise of these technologist doctors, if you will, that are sharing more, talking more, building more than what it feels like ever before, and the impact they're having on the industry around us and educating people like you and I around how to be more thoughtful about this respective space. I don't know. Is that what you're seeing as well as you read and see this proliferation, if you will, in the social media space?
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting. I mean, we arrived in this field and it was a different generation and they had enormous contributions. Not as many on the technical side, but I think that this generation of doctors is really committed, they're curious and they're experimenting in ways that has never happened before with information technology. And I think that's great. And I think that where that leads can only be good. And I think that some of the just them expressing themselves and interacting with the information technology community in a way that they haven't done in the past. I couldn't be more thankful for them inviting me in, inviting you in to conversations, and then inviting others as well.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. So, as we said at the very beginning, Russell, probably any number of things that we're thankful for, any number of people that we learn from every day, that we read out on LinkedIn or other social media platforms, and that we have the chance to interact. I would say I'm thankful, Russell, for you that we've been able to come together and have these conversations, whether it's on the pod, separately. You've inspired me to think about some of the things differently. And I've loved how you have really dug in into not just the digital health space, but more broadly, the connections and intentional connections you're making with physicians, with other providers, founders, et cetera. So I'm thankful for that, Russell, without a doubt.
Yeah, likewise. Doug, I've always admired you. You know, we worked together
Yeah,
for many years, but we've really gotten to know each other a lot better in the past several months. And I am deeply thankful for this connection and this invitation to join the podcast that you've started. Thanks to James Canary too.
100%. Yeah.
I haven't talked to James in a while, and hopefully I get to interact with him soon enough. But I know that you guys started this, and I'm just happy to help steward it the way that I can.
Yeah. He's the OG of the counterweight.
Yeah.
So we'll do a trifecta episode here at some point in the near future. So we'll wrestle with that. I wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving. Eat as much as you want, rest as much as you want, and for all of our audience, I think we wish you the same. Come back after Thanksgiving, energized, ready to close out the year strong. There's a lot to be thankful for and a lot to be optimistic in the digital health space, in healthcare broadly, and what we can all go together. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.